Dr. Ibrahim Dakubu is a teacher, healer, thought leader, and futurist commissioned by God to heal minds, build nations, and ignite faith on a global scale. His life passion is to deliver people from the pain of ignorance.
Welcome people to the leadership training. God bless you for coming on. Today we're going to be talking about wellness, health and wellness. Growth is essential in life. You have to have the ability to grow. Growth is a result of bad habits being dropped, wrong priorities changed, and new ways of thinking embraced. Now, the people who do not grow are usually unwilling to leave what they have known and practiced. They are not willing to admit wrong, so they can never discover what is right. Therefore, they cling to what they consider to be right, and their lives turn out wrong. And how sad that the surrender of being right is a prerequisite to finding right. That's the fact. And so you have to purpose in your heart to intentionally grow every day, so that you will develop your strengths. Amen. And there's an eternal truth that I want to share here. There's no metal that cannot be melted by fire. Fire is transformation. The other day I was speaking about the alchemist. In trying to find gold, they discovered many things of greater value. And so real gold is not afraid of fire. Transformation requires fire. And to be healthy and to be well, you have to be willing to change. That's why I'm giving this elaborate introduction. Once you are able to change, you become confident. And confidence stimulates creativity. And this creativity discovers answers. John Maxwell was teaching this some time ago. And so you have to be able to change your mind, renew your mind, renew your expectation. There's an African proverb that says this. It says, no matter how insane a man is, he will never enter fire by accident. You get what I'm saying? And so most people have an understanding of how things work, except that they are not willing to or capacitated to follow the process. And that's why teaching is so important. When you teach, there's an unction for transformation, and people actually change their minds if the teaching is fiery enough, if there's enough power and potency in it. And so I believe that's why God has me on these teachings and these podcasts and all these mentorship and coaching and training activities, so that people can actually be transformed in order to fulfill destiny. I want to talk about the 9 dimensions of wellness, the 9 dimensions of human wellness. Health and wellness go together. There will be sessions where we'll talk about specifics of health, and health care practices and preventative health strategies and all of that. And in some of those meetings, I'll actually have Lauren teach, because she's a certified health and wellness expert, and I'm a public health consultant, so I supervise the kind of things that she does. I've worked with her to develop programs and things like that. So she's an expert in these things. But today I want to talk about wellness. People of God, you have to take your personal power back. Don't give your personal power to culture and to circumstances. The 9 dimensions of human wellness provide a holistic view of health, encompassing the physical, emotional, intellectual, social or interpersonal, spiritual, environmental, occupational, financial, and cultural aspects. Now, each of these is crucial for overall well-being, involving self-awareness, balance, and conscious choices to live life to the fullest and to reach personal potential. When I was working for one corporation, at this point I was already born again, and there was a powerful preacher coming into town, and I heard the Holy Spirit said, "You have to go." And I said, "Well, I'm working. How am I going to go?" And I heard in my spirit, "You are not well. So tell them you are not well." So I told my boss, I asked for the excuse, and then I said, "I'm not well." I didn't say I was sick. I am not well. I'm not well is different from I am sick. If I said I was sick, I'll be lying, right? I wasn't well, wellness. Because at that point, my emotional well-being wasn't good. My social well-being wasn't good. My spiritual well-being wasn't good. My financial well-being wasn't good. The cultural aspect wasn't good. You see, so I was unwell in many aspects. You see what I'm saying? It was only my physical that was okay. So I wasn't lying when I said I wasn't well. And they said, "Okay, see you later when you're well." So the 9 dimensions of human wellness: 1, physical; 2, emotional; 3, intellectual; 4, spiritual; 5, social or interpersonal; 6, environmental; 7, occupational; 8, financial; 9, cultural. Now, not in any particular order, okay? Now, just as, with a balanced diet, just as a balanced diet is needed for healthy nutrition, balanced wellness engages the body, the mind, and actually nurtures the spirit. This multidimensional wellness approach focuses on emphasizing the importance of positivity and eternal motivation for promoting healthy habits to improve a person's quality of life. At the end of the day, quality of life is extremely important. No matter how spiritually powerful you are, if you are emotionally imbalanced, you may end up in the psych ward. No matter how intellectually potent you are, if you are socially imbalanced, you may end up isolated. Nobody will seek your wisdom. No matter how culturally aware you are, if you are financially incapable, nobody will mind you. The Bible actually says the wisdom of a poor man is despised. You understand? People will tend to disrespect you if you're not well in the financial area. So all these aspects are important. You can be financially rich, but if you are physically unwell, it's not going to be good. You're not going to be happy. There are many people like that. They are millionaires, billionaires, but they are sick. In fact, why do millionaires commit suicide? I used to ask people that question. Because we have heard stories of millionaires committing suicide. It means finances is not enough. They have the money, but they are not emotionally balanced. They are spiritually bankrupt. They are socially bankrupt. They are culturally bankrupt. So you understand what I'm saying now. This is the motivation for this topic. It's a very, very important topic. As I'm speaking about it, it sounds very simple, but many people don't know this. And for that matter, they are not able to live a balanced life. We see a lot of so-called spiritual people, especially the Pentecostals and charismatics, they focus everything in the spiritual context, but they ignore the other 8 dimensions. And so people consider them as a nuisance. You see what I'm saying? And then we also know people who know all these other things, especially the people in the corporate world, but they may be spiritually bankrupt because they have subscribed to a false spiritual system, and so we need a balance. And that's why the marketplace ministry is going to be so powerful. The marketplace ministry means people who are spiritually powerful in the true revelation, the revelation of the true God. At the same time, they are balanced in all the 9 dimensions, in all the other dimensions, and they are able to be productive people in society. And it's not about a religious battle. At the end of the day, what everybody is really looking for is freedom. And it doesn't matter what religious beliefs they subscribe to. So any body or system that helps bring that level of freedom within the soul of a person, that one bringing that freedom will be listened to, will be followed, will be acknowledged. And so that's why God is empowering us in all these 9 dimensions so that we can actually be useful in the world. Because at the end of the day, everybody is looking for freedom. Everybody is looking for transformation. I said this the other day. I said, Christianity as we know it, is not necessarily about jumping up and down and singing songs. In essence, it is about transformation. It's about freedom. It's not necessarily about even doctrine. Even though the Christian doctrine, the doctrine according to the Bible, is the true doctrine that guarantees whole transformation, talking about spirit, body, and soul. Christianity is not an end in itself. It is the means to an end, that end being liberation, total transformation, and ultimately fulfillment of destiny. In other words, authentic spiritual Christianity is basically a life strategy. I've heard Dr. Trim use that phrase many times. It's a fact. And so let's break down these 9 dimensions of human wellness. I'm going to start from physical. So caring for your physical body is essential, very, very important, through exercise, nutrition, sleep, avoiding harmful habits. The physically well person gets an adequate amount of sleep. Sleep is important. You need to rest the body. If you stay awake for a long time, you'll actually start to have some deficits. A physically balanced person eats well, eats a balanced and nutritious diet on a regular basis, engages in physical exercises, moving the body, moving the joints, moving the muscles, doing cardio exercises to strengthen the heart and the respiratory systems and the cardiovascular systems. Attends regular medical checkups to know their overall health states. Very, very important. Minimizes the risk of injuries and harm. So they are aware of their environments. They don't live recklessly. That is a physically balanced person, right? Now, I'm just gonna give like basic descriptions of these so that you understand what we're talking about. We're not going in depth into the individual ones because that would be a whole nother teaching. Number 2, emotional. Like I said, it's not in any specific order, so don't worry about that. Now, recognizing, accepting, and managing feelings. This is the emotional realm. Seeking support when needed. Sometimes people try to be so strong even when they are depleted, and that can lead to psychological problems and even mental problems. It is not weakness to seek help. Most people find it as weakness, especially among certain racial groups and certain ethnic groups. For instance, in Africa, mental health support is considered as taboo. Meanwhile, there are many people who have a problem. Most of the things that we call witchcraft is mental issues, is mental problems. Someone behaving so wicked and all that. If you go down, the root of it is mental issues, emotional imbalances, psychological imbalances, stress, burnout, and all of that. And so seeking support when needed, and then also building resilience. You need support. You can't do what you're not capacitated to do, and that's why God has prepared certain people who have capacity to help you deal with such issues. And that's why people like Dr. Ibrahim Dakubu are available. We have been through a lot, and God has strengthened us, so we have the capacity to help. And so an emotionally well person can cope effectively with life. They can identify, they can express, and they can manage the entire range of their feelings, and they would consider seeking assistance to address areas of concern. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make anybody weak. You can't suppress your feelings. You have to acknowledge your feelings, but work through them. Why am I angry? Why am I sad? And even when we go to the spiritual context of all these things, sometimes certain people are feelers. If you have a prophetic gift, you can tend to feel emotions of other people. But if you're not schooled, if you're not trained, if you're not mentored in all of this, you will think it's your problem, you think it's your burden, and then you can become overwhelmed and you can get burnt out. There are people who can feel other people's emotions. Many of you on here who come are prophetic in nature, so these things can happen to you. But if you're not schooled, you're not taught how to deal with all of that, it can overwhelm you. Number 3, intellectual. Now, engaging in creative activities, lifelong learning, critical thinking, exploring new ideas, and stuff like that. That's the intellectual realm. In fact, the intellectually well person values studies, lifelong learning, seeking to foster critical thinking, developing moral reasoning, expanding worldviews, knowledge, skills, creativity. There are a lot of people that are contentious because their worldview is very narrow. There are many people in America, they've never traveled even to the next state. So how do you expect such a person to be able to relate with people from other cultures or other countries? You understand? It's due to their skewed worldview. But other people who are well traveled usually are able to cope and coexist and collaborate with people that don't look like them. So it's a form of wellness. Many people are intellectually bankrupt. During one of these sessions in the future, I'm going to teach on increasing your intellectual capacity. Talking about increasing memory and how to learn and things like that. Very, very, very important. Many people are intellectually bankrupt. Now, you can be spiritually gifted and still be intellectually bankrupt. Understand? But like I said, These are different dimensions. So you can have one and not have the other 8, and you will not be productive in life. This is what many people don't know. So you think as soon as I'm anointed, it means the whole world has to bow to you. No. It doesn't work like that. Or to think once I have money, so the whole world should bow. No. It doesn't work like that. You have to be whole in all the 9 dimensions in order to be a person of influence and impact. And like I say all the time, God has empowered me to train, to teach, to heal, to empower transformational leaders. Social, we're going to number 4, social or interpersonal. You can also call it interpersonal. And this is talking about, building healthy relationships, fostering communication, fostering trust, a sense of belonging. Now, this has to do with, interpersonal skills and interactions. The person that is socially well has a strong network of support based on communication skills, mutual trust, respect, and all these features that I spoke about the other day when I was teaching on social interactions and godly relationships. So such a person has a capacity for intimacy and for collaboration and for empathy. Many people don't have these skills. That's why they can't sustain relationships, whether it is business relationship, spiritual relationships, or even romantic relationships. If you don't have social skills, it will be impossible for you to maintain good relationships. And so this is an area that we'll be dealing with as we go along. In fact, the other time we dealt with it during some of the teachings, and we'll be doing more. Number 5, spiritual. This one you know a lot about already because we deal with that a lot. Because the reason why we deal with that a lot is because this is like the bedrock of all of the dimensions. If you get this one right, all the others will line up. And so spiritual wellness has to do with exploring values, purpose, meaning, connection, especially to something greater than oneself. In our case, someone greater than oneself, which can involve religion or personal beliefs. Like I said, in our case, we have a relationship with the true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh, Elohim, through the death, burial, and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And so we believe in adoption by faith through sonship as a conduit for the total restoration of the human soul, to include all the other 8 dimensions of wellness that we are discussing now. And so the spiritually well person seeks harmony, balance, peace. I've said this many times, peace is a currency that can be used to purchase everything else. If you don't have peace, you'll have nothing. So in all that you do, strive to get peace. That's why the devil is always trying to bring chaos to people's lives, chaos and destruction. Because as long as there's chaos and destruction, you won't have peace. Peace is so essential because from peace, you will have joy. From joy, you will be strong. From strength, you will have momentum. And then all your dreams, wishes, and aspirations will come alive. I've been singing this song for as long as you have known me, I'm sure. But because it's so important. Now, the spiritually well person seeks harmony. As I said, they seek balance by openly exploring their beliefs and their values. Through depth of revelation, human purpose, meaning, and connection, through dialogue, self-reflection, and communion with God. And so spirituality is extremely important. In fact, it's the bedrock of all these 9 dimensions that we are talking about. Number 6, environmental. Now, understanding your impact on the world as a whole and taking steps to protect and improve your surroundings is extremely important. That's why personally I engage in ventures that have to do with sustainability and reducing the net carbon percentages, through renewable energy and sustainable housing. The environment is so important. A person that is environmentally well and sound recognizes the responsibility to preserve, to protect, and to improve the environment. Now, this is not, I'm not talking about those that are worshiping nature, and so they say, oh, let's not do this, let's not do that. No, I am not one of the people that believe we should treasure animals more than human beings. The people who would approve huge budgets for squirrels to be preserved, meanwhile human beings are dying of hunger. Those people have different motives. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being environmentally aware, because whether we know it or not, the ecology involves different things, and there has to be balance. There has to be a balance in the ecosystem, and that's what drives sustenance. Trees release, they take up carbon dioxide, release oxygen. If we cut down all the trees, we're going to have a problem. So all these things are important. Protect and improve the environment. Now, this also includes developing and maintaining a living environment that is safe and comfortable. So we have to be aware in this area as well. Number 7, occupational. Now, finding satisfaction, purpose, and balance in your work or your chosen activities is so important. Aligning with your values. You see, the reason why many people are frustrated in life is because they haven't found their purpose. And so they are still in the survival mode, doing a job to pay bills. That will lead to frustration. Until you find out what you need to do and invest in that thing and become good at it, so that it produces finances for you, you'll be frustrated. There are many, I have colleagues, doctors making millions, but they hate the job, and because of that they are unhealthy, because every day when they are waking up they are angry. You understand? And of course that's not going to help your emotional balance, your hormonal balance, and your overall health. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because they are looking at the money, but they haven't journeyed deep enough to know how to deploy their gifts and talents to fulfill destiny and still have sustenance. Sometimes that's why when some of them, when they see me doing what I do, instead of coming to humble themselves for me to teach them how to operate, they get mad because they wish they had freedom. But it's not too late. It's not too late. Everyone can be free if they want to be free. And so the professionally well person has personal satisfaction and enrichment in their work life. They seek opportunities to grow professionally and to be fulfilled in the work that they do. And so while preparing and making use of your gifts, your skills, your talents, in order to gain purpose, and happiness. So to be occupationally well, you need to seek opportunities to grow. I was talking about growth earlier. If you want to be free, you have to grow. You have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. You understand? To grow professionally and to be fulfilled in the work you do. You know, you have to prepare. You have to make use of your gifts, your skills, your talents in order to gain purpose, happiness, and enrichment in your life. Most people think it's too late. No, it's not too late. In fact, this AI surgence is going to make it faster for people to transition. Things are not as dire as social media or media tries to paint it. You know, what this AI thing has done pretty much is to bastardize intellectual knowledge because there's no lawyer that has more information than AI, you see, and I can extrapolate it for other professions. So what that means is you can actually sacrifice to do what you really want to do if you know it, and not be bothered about the fact that you may be lacking certain information or certain nuggets that you need. This AI is going to take over everything, so pretty much everyone will have the information they need to do whatever they need to do. That's what I'm trying to say here. What you would have needed a consultant to do and charge several thousands, you can pretty much get it on AI for free. You understand? So opportunities are coming, things will shift, and so certain people will be forced to change and do what they really want to do. But here's the thing: if you are not willing to move, God will push you. I was pushed into what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? So there's a price to pay if you want to live a life of bliss and to live your dream, as they typically call it. But you have to pay a price. You have to push through. I'm spending too much time on occupational. That's because it's so important. Many people are frustrated in the jobs that they find themselves in, and they are angry, and it's impacting their health negatively. But I believe in this season, God will give you wisdom to pay the price needed to get into the profession that you actually need to be in, that God created you to be in. You know, let me be honest with you. When a long time ago, I've always loved music, and I used to say something like, even though when I was in medical school and all that, I used to say things like, I wish I was an entertainer or a musician or something, so that I can actually have fun and still make money. You know, but I didn't know the struggle and the stress it takes for an entertainer or musician or whatever to actually break through and live in that realm where their creativity can actually bring them resources. It takes a lot. It's not talent alone or desire alone. Desire alone is not enough. But if you know what to do and you push hard enough, you will get it. For example, most of the music, entertainment, all the things that we're doing, everything will generate millions and billions in the future. I know that 100%, because there's a revolution coming very soon. People are going to understand the mystery of sound, and they will realize that all the sounds they have been listening have been poisonous and demonic, and the reasons why they suffer the things they suffer is because of the sounds they have allowed into their souls. And so when that revolution comes, people will now seek to get pure sound in the genres that they love. And there are many people who love hip-hop. There are many people who love the type of genres that we do. So that is where the revolution is going to come. And then the people are going to flock to record labels that are spiritual and powerful and produce creative sounds. You understand? And that's how MCD is going to go global, Dunamis Global, and all the affiliate companies that are attached to what we are doing. You understand? So God has already revealed this to me, so I'm confident. So all with that revelation, what you have to do is now build systems and structures that can support that expansion. That's what you do. You build systems and structures around the vision, around the prophetic word. For those of you who are spiritual people, you have to build systems and structures around the prophecy you receive in order to prepare for the expansion. Number 8, financial. So financial still goes in line with occupational that I was talking about, because most of the time your finances will come from your occupation. Now, of course, if you're a spiritual leader, that's an occupation. People will sow seeds, sacrifices, and all that, because basically a spiritual leader is like an ATM machine. If you put your card in them, you will make money. You'll get favor, blessings. That's how God created it, because the priest was to do sacrament sacrifices for the people, and the people had to bring sacrifices. That's one part that many people still cannot understand. That's why they can't be blessed. They don't understand why they should sow to a spiritual system, why they should sow tithes and offering. Because people are operating with the system of the world, which says, oh, you're giving your money to preachers and all that. Anyone can believe what they want to believe. That doesn't change spiritual principles. So financial, and I'm talking financial because these are all principles of financial abundance, especially in the Christian system. Now, even if we go to other religions, you see, seed time and harvest time will never cease. It was in the scriptures. It's in the scriptures, Genesis chapter 8, chapter 9. That was way before there were these religions that we have now. That was the time of Noah. And so that promise is for everybody. That's why the Muslims, they do all this sadaqah and all this zakat and all the things that they do, and they seem to have more financial abundance than other people, because it's a principle, it's a spiritual law. If you practice it, it's going to work for you. Unfortunately, most Christians are stingy, greedy, suspicious, covetous, because they want to be the one that people are sowing to. So if that's not happening, then they are not going to sow to anybody. It's a strange concept, but God will help the people. So managing resources responsibly, living within your means, making informed financial decisions. The financially well person is fully aware of financial state and budgets. They know about saving. They know about managing finances to achieve realistic goals. Financial wellness includes setting aside time to evaluate finances, planning for fixed and variable expenses, finding stress relief outlets, and gratitude for things that do not cost money. You have to understand all these things. It will not just happen naturally because you are an emotional person, or you are a spiritual person, or you are a physically strong person, or you are an occupationally empowered person. No, it's a dimension that you need to know, the financial dimension. That's why those of you that are under my leadership, every now and then I share certain things that have to do with specific finance. We've had teachings on the new financial systems and the cryptocurrency and all the investment strategies. That's Dr. O's main area. And because all these things are important. The reason why we did those things and we do those things is to empower you financially, because that is another dimension of wellness. You can prophesy, you can speak in tongues, but if you have a financial deficit, you're going to be in trouble. And number 9, last but not the least, cultural. Now, practicing your own culture and being respectful and open to the cultures of others is important. It fosters belonging. People have different beliefs, even among the same religion. America is a very mixed place because almost every nation in the world is represented here. But people have different cultures. There are Christians of Eastern origin. They still wear their Eastern clothes. African origin, they wear their African clothes, they eat their African food. Even because if there's no fire, you can't break these barriers, but there's enough fire in the church. People can have their cultures by way of preferences of food, clothing, and everything, but they can still hang out together. But because that level of fire is still building up, most people segregate themselves. So you have a Chinese church, you have an African church, you have an Indian church, you have a white church, all of that. That's not how it's supposed to be. But because there isn't yet enough fire to break all those suspicions. It's because of suspicions that people stick to themselves. Cultural awareness is so important. There's a power required for cultural awareness. Otherwise, people are going to suspect others. You know, people who don't look like each other, if they're not culturally mature, they can't live together. A culturally well person is aware of their own cultural background, as well as the diversity and richness that is present in other cultural backgrounds, which is so important for harmony, you know. And so cultural awareness indicates understanding, it indicates awareness, you know, and the intrinsic respect for all aspects of diversity. And now when I say diversity, I'm not talking about strange behaviors and perversions. I'm talking about different cultures. And so these dimensions, these 9 dimensions are interconnected. And because of that, neglecting one can affect the others. Highlighting the importance of one over others is not going to work. There has to be a balance in order to have holistic health. And so yeah, we'll continue with another topic that is related to this. Thank you for listening. Shalom.